What's up, everybody? It's Zach, the Celtics guy here. I'm back with another video, and I'm here to talk about another event going on in the news that is concerning the country of Brazil in South America. And it's an issue that I've discussed on this channel a few times before, but it's about an odious individual that, yes, like I said, I've discussed on this channel a bunch of times. He is the far-right extreme theocrat, neocon warmonger that's running Brazil right now, Jair Bolsonaro, that many people call the Brazilian Donald Trump. They've called him Rodrigo Duterte of the Philippines. They've compared him to other authoritarian leaders and so on and so forth. And I disagree with I disagree slightly with the comparison to Donald Trump, because Jair Bolsonaro is worse than Donald Trump. As bad as Donald Trump was in so many ways, Bolsonaro is significantly worse, as a matter of fact. And basically what I found, based on what I've researched about this fucking monster, is he's more like Rick Santorum, is what I've said before. He's basically just a more loudmouth version of Rick Santorum. He's basically like Rick Santorum with just a louder mouth and with less manners. That's basically what Jair Bolsonaro is. So basically what happened in Brazil not too long ago, they had a rally on September 7th, which was literally like last week, about 6 days ago. There was a pro-coup rally in Brazil. So it's like September 7th was Brazil's January 6th of this country. Because for everyone who knows at this point that January 6th was the day that the U.S. Capitol was attacked by right-wing extremists that Donald Trump incited over his election being rigged and whatnot and so on. And yes, Donald Trump fucking incited that. He incited terrorism on the Capitol Hill. I don't care how unloving that sounds. I don't care. You can call me a liberal. You can call me a leftist. I don't give a shit, because Donald Trump incited that violence on the Capitol Hill. And he's a fucking piece of shit for that. He's a fucking scumbag piece of shit for doing that. And he incited domestic terrorism on the Capitol Hill. He will go down as amongst the worst leaders that this country has ever friggin' had. And I don't care. Like I said, if that makes me a liberal, that makes me a progressive, if that makes me a leftist, whatever you call me, whatever the fuck you want, I don't care. But that's the reality. Trump incited the January 6th attacks on the Capitol Hill. And I have no tolerance for people who support that attack, because what that's saying, or support this kind of attack, because what you're saying is, if you support something like Bolsonaro's pro-coup rally, or you support the January 6th attacks, or you make excuses for the attacks on the Capitol Hill, what that's saying is that you are okay with violence and terrorism. That is something that I cannot and will not respect. I can respect if somebody just likes Trump for their own reasons. Now, I have many friends that like Trump, and I'm cool with them. They know my stance. I know their stance. I have a few family members that like him. Many friends like him. Many of Steven's family members like him, and we're all like family. We're all cool with each other. So no, like if you say something like, yeah, I think it was these people that attacked, or they did this, or they did that, like that's perfectly okay. I will never talk down to you. I will never ban you. I will never say anything like that. I will never talk down to you for disagreeing, for just disagreeing with me. However, if you take Donald Trump seriously and you support the violence on the Capitol Hill, if you support what Trump did by inciting the January 6th attacks on the Capitol Hill, then I'm basically going to say, fuck you, go fuck yourself, and that's pretty much the end of it, because I have no tolerance, I have no respect for anyone that supports violence or terrorism in any name. I don't care what name it, I don't care what side of the political icon it is. But like I say, if you support violence or terrorism, like what Jair Bolsonaro is doing, or if you make excuses like making up excuses about the January 6th attacks, like, oh, they were just peaceful protests, and then you downplay the attacks, or you downplay Jair Bolsonaro's September 7th attacks, or his inciting his supporters to commit violence against government institutions and insurrection. No, I'm going to say, fuck you, I'm not going to give you the time of day, and I will lose all respect for you, and I will not give you the time of day. Okay, I will not give you the time of day. There are limits as to what I will tolerate. And it's just like, sorry about that, I don't care. You can call me a leftist. Like I said, I don't care what you call me. But the fact of the matter is, what Jair Bolsonaro was doing with this rally, or what he did with this rally, was inciting terrorism. And what Trump did was inciting terrorism. So, that's what I say. I have no tolerance for people who support terrorism, who support violence, or supports insurrections. I will not give you the time of day. I will not give you the time of day. You call that censorship, you can call it whatever you want. I have limits as to what I will tolerate. There are opinions. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. You can have an opinion. I like Donald Trump for my own reasons. That's fine. I like Jair Bolsonaro for my own reasons. That's fine. I'm a Christian. I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm a right-winger. I'm a whatever. That's fine. I like Trump. That's fine. I know I kind of repeated that, but that's fine. If you respect me for my opinions, and then I can respect your opinions. But if you don't respect my opinions, or you go to the extreme of, I support the January 6th attacks on the Capitol Hill, making excuses that they were peaceful, supporting violence or terrorism, like this, for example, like what Bolsonaro is doing with the pro-coup rally, that's what I will not tolerate. Because what do I draw the line? Where should free speech be drawn? Violence, threats of violence, doxing, slander, libel and slander, defamation, or terrorism or violence, like the Capitol Hill. The Capitol Hill riots were not fucking peaceful protests. They were not peaceful protests. They were violence, they were terrorism, and if you think otherwise, you are a fucking moron, and you need to get your fucking head out of your ass. And if you think what Bolsonaro is doing is secular, or if this pro-coup rally, if you think that like this is a peaceful protest, then you're a fucking moron, and you have no idea what's going on, and you have no grounds in reality, and you're not living in the real world. So, if someone thinks like, for example, like I said about the Capitol Hill, if someone thinks, yeah, you know what, these protests, I support any kind of protest that makes government officials shake in their boots. That was what Stephen told me once a while back. I got no problem with that. I might disagree with that stance, but I especially will never talk down to the person I love. But what I'm saying is that anybody who makes excuses for the insurrection of the Capitol Hill, and even if you want to go as far as to say, I don't think Donald Trump had anything to do with it, that's fine. I disagree with that because Donald Trump had every single thing to do with the January 6th attacks. He had every fucking thing to do with it. Just like if Jair Bolsonaro, if some right-wing terrorist attack happens to one of Brazil's governments, then I'm going to blame Jair Bolsonaro. I will hold Jair Bolsonaro responsible for whatever goes down. I will hold him and his supporters responsible for what goes down. Because that's exactly what this is. You got two morons, two dumbass morons cut out from the same cloth on the same fucking playbook that are inciting violence against their political institutions because they know they're vulnerable. Trump knew he was vulnerable when he lost to Joe Biden. He knew, okay? Look what happened there. And then that's not to make excuses for Biden because I don't like Joe Biden. I don't like him for my own reasons. I think he's a neoliberal. He's an imperialist. I don't like him either. His withdrawal from Afghanistan was a disaster. Even though I support the withdrawal from Afghanistan, how he went about it was a disaster. So no, I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him. I don't care for him as a leader. But Trump constantly saying that the election was stolen from him, the election was rigged, when there was no evidence of any type of fraud or election rigging, and then inciting the violence in the Capitol Hill. His constant bragging about, his constant saying this, Jair Bolsonaro, this violence going on here. Him constantly saying, I need to win re-election. If not, I'm gonna be murdered. Something's gonna happen. I'm gonna get back in office no matter what. And then basically riling up his right-wing supporters, inciting his supporters to go out and commit violence and terrorism. Saying things like, it's all or nothing new. Take to the streets on this September 7th or we'll be slaves. It's fucking madness. It's literally fucking madness. Like, this type of primitive mentality does not go away. Like, this kind of mentality never goes away. It doesn't go away for multiple generations. Especially when Brazil was a right-wing military dictatorship from the 60s up until like the early 90s, I think, and it was backed by the CIA. It was backed by Republican and Democratic administrations. I don't know if Jimmy Carter supported it, but we know for a fact that fucking Ronald Reagan supported it. We all know that the Ronald Reagan, who was a neocon and a warmonger, we know that he definitely supported that. He supported right-wing dictators. And Jair Bolsonaro is a right-wing dictator. He is a right-wing authoritarian who is a complete bigot and a war criminal, and he's a fucking tyrant in the making. He is Brazil's Hitler in the making. He is a fascist. He is a fascist. Some people don't like it when I say Trump is a fascist. Trump is at least a borderline fascist, or at least a neo-fascist, for what he did on the Capitol Hill. And sucking off right-wing dictators like Bolsonaro or Viktor Orban in Hungary and people like that. You know, just these fucking odious people. Okay? And I don't care what you want to say about it, but this is what Jair Bolsonaro is doing. So on that note, I'm going to just leave it to that point. So no, Trump incited the violence on the Capitol Hill. I don't care whether you like it or not, that's a fact. Jair Bolsonaro is inciting violence as we speak. And Brazil narrowly escaped a January 6th style attack. Literally, they were this close to having like an attack on one of their democratic institutions because of a far-right psychopath running their joint. That's what Jair Bolsonaro is. Jair Bolsonaro is a scumbag. He's a fucking monster. He's a piece of shit. Let's not forget, he's butchering the Amazon rainforest, pissing away Brazil's diplomatic relations with Norway, fighting with Norway when Norway said, fuck you, we're going to cut off your funding for butchering the Amazon rainforest. He made up a bunch of libel and slander about Norway with her saying, isn't Norway the country that kills whales? And then they turn around and say, hey, fuck you, dumbass. By the way, it's Denmark that does it. Greenland does that. Norway ain't even the country that does that. And then people worldwide were mocking his dumbass, and for good reason. France, Germany, fighting with these people. Even Joe Biden can't stand Jair Bolsonaro. That's how bad he is. So no, like people like this. And then people were kissing his ass, like John Bolton, who's one of the worst fucking war criminals to inhabit the face of the earth. Mike Pompeo, who is easily the worst Secretary of State that this country has ever had in history. He was a fucking neocon war criminal, a bloodthirsty monster who never met a war he didn't love, who was also a complete bigot and a homophobe. That's what Mike Pompeo was. Mike Pompeo was like a Marco Rubio-style figure, just like Jair Bolsonaro. Jair Bolsonaro and Marco Rubio kissing each other's ass. Mike Pompeo kissing each other's ass. Trump kissing his ass. All these fucking people kissing each other's ass. So no, Brazil's democracy is in jeopardy. It was in jeopardy. And we've got a psychopath, a literal psychopath, who is literally the next dictator in the making in Brazil right now. And I would get this guy out of power by any means necessary. This guy is an example of where he needs to be overthrown as quickly as possible, because Jair Bolsonaro is an imminent threat to Brazil's democracy and their institutions. He is a threat to global peace and security, just as he's destroying the Amazon rainforest, which is the lungs of the planet. Jair Bolsonaro is probably one of the biggest threats to global peace and security right now. Jair Bolsonaro is a bad person. He is a sick person. He is a bad person. He is incompetent. He is utterly incapable of leading a country. And if this guy gets reelected in 2023, then Brazil's democracy is going to be even worse off than what I thought. So whether it's people just vote him in or he gets in, he rigs his own elections. See, it's two sides of the icon. If Jair Bolsonaro lost, like Trump did, he'd be saying rigged and fucking rigging and this and that. So by Trump doing what he did in this country at the end of his term, basically doing what he did, the odious things that he did, when he left office or when he was about to leave office, inciting violence on the Capitol Hill, bitching that the election was rigged and stolen and all that shit, that's what he's inciting right-wing psychopaths like Jair Bolsonaro to utter that same rhetoric. So that's exactly what is happening. So basically, people like Trump have emboldened Jair Bolsonaro. Jair Bolsonaro went full Trump on September 7th. September 7th was a bad time for Brazil's democracy. They were this close from escaping. There was a big group of people in front of the National Congress in Brasilia, Brazil. Extremely and dangerously similar to the thugs and the fucking terrorists who rioted and committed the insurrection on the Capitol Hill by their incompetent orange Oompa Loompa that told them to do so and basically incited them to do so about election rigging and fucking bullshit like that. And that's what Jair Bolsonaro is doing right now. Jair Bolsonaro is taking a copy out of the playbook. He's taking a copy out of the playbook, and this is what he's doing. Told his supporters to go rally. There's nothing wrong with saying, go rally, go do this and that. But the double-edged sword is, something is going to happen just like this if Jair Bolsonaro keeps up this type of rhetoric. Because these people are not normal. They're not all there. Many of Jair Bolsonaro's supporters are not all there. It's not like the U.S. Brazil is an oligarchy, much like the U.S. is. Much like Russia is in places like that, but that's a whole nother story. So this type of primitive way of thinking stems out from the years that Brazil was a right-wing dictatorship. So you got people like that are basically stuck in the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s. Jair Bolsonaro was taking advantage of his brain-dead followers to go do this type of shit, much like Trump did. So you got this going on, and it's looking scary. It's looking scary. I mean, I feel bad for people in Brazil. I really feel bad for them. I mean, Jair Bolsonaro has caused long-term damage to his country and to his reputation, and to their reputation. Jair Bolsonaro is one of the most incompetent leaders on the face of the planet. And they need to get this guy out by any means necessary, whether it's a more moderate conservative or it's more of a moderate liberal or something like that, because an extreme right-wing theocrat like Bolsonaro is going to drag Brazil backwards, and they're going to enter an abyss, like a dark abyss, and it's not going to be pretty. The future of Brazil is not going to look good with this guy in power for much longer. Brazil can weather many storms. Many countries can weather many storms. But there's a certain point where a country's democracy and human rights record goes off into the abyss. And that's what Jair Bolsonaro is doing right now. You never realize it until they're in the house, until they're in your own backyard. They're in your own backyard. They're in our hemisphere. They're in the southern hemisphere. Part of Brazil's in the southern hemisphere and some of Brazil's in the northern hemisphere, because it's like separated from the equator, the Tropic of Capricorn, and you get the point. Geographically speaking, we've all seen what happened when Donald Trump incited these people to do it. It's happening across the world right now. It's happening all over the fucking world right now. Viktor Orban in Hungary, undermining LGBT rights. All this stuff going on. Scary. It's fucking scary. This is on you people. And like I said before, Joe Biden and people like him, neoliberals, definitely can take the blame with a lot of stupid shit that they do. But this stuff with Jair Bolsonaro, this is on people like Trump. This is on right-wing neocons and people like that, Alex Jones style people and Glenn Beck style people like this. That's what's going on. This is on you guys. I don't know one fucking liberal that would ever support Jair Bolsonaro. It's not looking good, but I wish the people of Brazil and any Brazilian that's watching this who's not brainwashed by Jair Bolsonaro's rhetoric, I wish them the best. I really hope that they can get this guy out of power. I hope that they can restore their democracy. I hope they can make Jair Bolsonaro a one-term president like the U.S. made Trump a one-term president. Because we've seen what happened with fascism in the 1930s and 40s. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw what happened from November 2020 to January 2021. And even with Trump out of power, right-wing fanaticism is still igniting across the U.S. It's happening all over the world. It's happening in our own backyard. That the U.S. and the CIA thinks is our backyard, which they think Latin America is, but it's not. So we're more worried about Nicolas Maduro because he's not a U.S. puppet. We're more worried about Evo Morales. You know, Janine Áñez was a right-wing fucking theocrat piece of shit who ousted Evo Morales, the secular leftist leader in Bolivia, who was a successful leader, who I vehemently support, overthrew him. And look what happened. Killed a bunch of innocent people, persecuted Evo Morales supporters, leftists. And now there's a leftist-style figure named Luis Acri that's now in Bolivia. So we're calling for the release of her, of Janine Áñez, or Aziz, I forget her name. We're telling her that we're saying she should be released because she's a political prisoner. How much you want to bet that if Jair Bolsonaro gets overthrown in 2023 when he's up for re-election and he goes to prison for his crimes against humanity, that the U.S. administration would be saying the same thing? Because if you were Team USA, you can get away with whatever the fuck you want. And as an American, I am completely against that. And I'm embarrassed to be represented and to be run in a country by idiots like this. By hypocrites and neoliberals and neocons and imperialists like this. Like I said, we've all seen what happened with coup d'etats in Latin America throughout the 1980s and 90s. And way beyond that, the past century. We saw what happened with fascism in the 1930s and 40s. It didn't end well. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping for the best for the people of Brazil, and I hope that they can get this guy out of power sooner rather than later. Because if not, then it's going to be scary, and it's not going to end well for them. But I wish the people of Brazil the best. I hope everyone's doing all well out there, and I wish everyone the best. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone is doing well, and I'm going to wrap this video up because it's almost 25 minutes long, and I don't want it to run out of storage. Got other stuff to do this evening, and I wanted to take the time to make this, and I have a whole bunch of other stuff, including my 9/11 video I'm going to make at some point, maybe tomorrow, if not later on in the week. Stay tuned to find out more and more videos on the way, more content, and a whole bunch of other stuff in the works. Stay tuned to find out more. This is Zach the Celtics guy saying thank you for watching, and I'll be back with more content in the works and a whole bunch of other stuff in the works. Peace, have a nice day or night, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now. Have a good one.